So, for my memoir, I wrote about the day that really changed where I decided to go with my career. It was the day I job shadowed my grandpa, who worked at the courthouse in my hometown as a court officer. Um, at the time, he had just retired from the city police department and was now working part time at the courthouse. And the reason I decided to job shadow him was because for my whole life I had wanted to go into law enforcement. Um, Pretty much all the men in my family were involved in some form of law enforcement. So I'd grown up around it, and it was really what I wanted to do for my career. Um, and so that day, which was junior year of high school, started out pretty simple. Got up, went there, met my grandpa. Started out sitting in the security booth while my grandpa checked in people coming into the courthouse, just making sure they weren't bringing anything illegal, having them go through the metal detector, patting them down, that kind of thing. So for the couple hours that went on, it was a little boring, but it was interesting to see the different type of people coming in. People wearing ragged clothes that looked like they had just come off the street. And then, the people that worked there were coming in there for, something formal, wearing suits and whatnot. So that was interesting. From there, I got to go upstairs and sit in on one of the judges who was doing some hearings for people that had committed fairly minor crimes, misdemeanors, whatnot. One of the more interesting ones was a lady who had been drunk driving while her young daughter was in the back seat, and the judge definitely was tearing her apart, and that was quite entertaining, although it was not a fun thing to hear about. But from there, I got to go down and have some lunch with the rest of the court officers who worked there, and every one of them was an older, retired police officer. Um, Most of them had worked with my grandpa at one time or another. And I just kind of asked them when I was sitting down what advice they would give me, for a younger person looking to go into law enforcement. And they all pretty much told me the same thing, that, while they had spent their whole lives doing it, it was such a stressful and negative job, dealing with, criminals every day, and just the worst kind of people that hated cops and that kind of thing. And nowadays it had gotten so much worse for cops out there that they all recommended that I look elsewhere for a job, for a career. And so that was definitely something I needed to hear, because before then I was pretty gung-ho about, doing it. And just to hear those guys who had been in it for so long tell me that it was, that they wouldn't do it again was definitely mind-opening. Um, so after lunch, for the last part of my day, I got to go up and talk to one of the most tenured judges at the courthouse, Judge Devonin, who had been there a long time, managed to work his way up to the very top. And this was somebody that I had heard a lot about, a lot of good things. And going into it, I was definitely knew I was going to take his opinion very seriously, as he was someone who had a lot of knowledge in this aspect. So when I asked him what he thought, he told me that while over the years, he dealt with a lot of good people, a lot of people that were pleasant to be around, people, other people in law enforcement. The bad people that you have to deal with in this kind of job kind of outweighed the pleasant aspects. These people, the murderers, rapists, thieves, drug addicts, just the worst of the worst. It weighs down on you, it wears you thin, and he never really told me that not to do it, but from the advice he gave me, it was definitely more of the leaning away from going into law enforcement, and that kind of set it in stone for me, really, that maybe this isn't what I want to do. Maybe I shouldn't do this. And that was really eye-opening for me because, I mean, this was what I wanted to do for my whole life up until this point. And to hear all these people tell me to avoid it and to do almost anything else was definitely something I didn't expect. So after that day, I had to think long and hard about what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go with my life, and the decisions that I made from then on were ones that led me to where I am now here at Northern, and uh, I did decide not to go into law enforcement. So that day was one that probably changed my entire life.